Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Christelle Martinet, and I'm here with a scrying session for the full moon in Sagittarius, I believe it is. Please don't quote me if I'm wrong. I've got here a number of things, and I'd like to start with, let's see, kyanite. Kyanite. I have this macrame artist has just created this necklace with kyanite, kyanite, aquamarine. There's also can't even remember. I'm looking at it. Am I lost for words? Let's look at the kyanite in the meantime. You know, sometimes people ask me, well, how do you do this? How do you do this? And they say, I look at gems and crystals, and I just don't see anything. But I know that many of my subscribers underneath my videos have written, you know, at minute 7.505 seconds, I saw the face of an old woman, you know, and it's not, I can't generally say it's just a matter of using your imagination. No, there is a level of concentration that comes either naturally to you or you need to exercise it. And it's the real difficulty in this work is to remove your own personal agenda from what you're looking at, you know, trying not to look in the crystal to see something that you already have in your mind and have things emerge. And what I'm having emerge here is there's a highway. Okay, I'm getting a 4-lane highway, which is fairly large. And it's one of those highways that, you know, go cross country from New York to California, something like that. A 4-lane highway where sometimes you find that there are people in cars near you. There are trucks and there are cars. There are cars that are more or less filled up, maybe usually, but on a road such long as that, you usually find people, solitary people in cars having to travel long distances. And this is what I'm saying. Generalizing, no, I'm saying that this is what I'm seeing. And what's interesting is that when you go for such a long stretch, and this is the date is the 27th, the 28th, let's say it's the 27th, 28th, 29th, 30, up until the 2nd of July, this scrying session, because I see a group of 5 days, a group of 6 days all together, and it's a road trip. It's a very long road trip, and it's a road trip that you're doing on your own. It's a personal journey, and we are all in this. We are all in our own car, in our own vehicle, and if we have company, it's for a brief amount of time where you can exchange a couple of stories. You have a cup of coffee together. Oh, see, I remember you were at the toll booth, or I saw you at the cafe in this city or that city, and you do see faces, similar faces that you have seen before on the road, and it starts to make you feel familiar. You know, you're starting to feel I'm fairly familiar with what I'm looking at. And you start to relax. Your jaw is relaxing. The bite of your teeth is relaxing, and your your skeleton is loose, and the muscles on the skeleton are on their own. I mean, you can actually feel the skeleton of your body. And probably that's an oxymoron, the skeleton of your body, but nonetheless, you can feel your skeleton. What is interesting here is the meeting up every now and then with the same people and being at a loss of words because you don't know how much of yourself you would like to give, how much you would think is irrelevant for the other person, and how much you are willing to share, because in plain English, you just don't want to share. And usually people take a road trip to go soul searching, go and see what they could see, you know. And so sometimes the company is not welcome, you know. But the space in the universe puts us together, and we think of, well, what do I do now? What do I do now? And what's interesting is that every now and then, and what I'm seeing here is that there is a certain amount of fantasizing taking place where you create a world with this other person, man, young woman, child, old man, old woman, any type of person, yellow, green, black, white. You imagine yourself in relation to them. Who are they? And you start to embroider a sort of small story. So your mind, it's not that your mind is wandering, but your mind is being constructive in relation to an interpersonal relation, to another person, to another human being, and you're imagining how far your life can stretch to include that, the presence of that person. And sometimes we're able to get very, very close because we feel attracted, we feel sexually attracted, romantically attracted. We're all of a sudden our emotions are turning our heartbeat up and things like that. And that's one thing. But then there's also other types of feelings that we're feeling. It's going to be quite a number of days here, quite a long trip we're going on this new moon. And it's a very happy-go-lucky, I'm seeing it as a happy-go-lucky trip these days, but a trip nonetheless that allows us to be creative, allows us to expand, allows us to assess ourselves in relation to others. This is fluorite. And so what I'm seeing is our mood changing quite from vast extremes, from one extreme to the other. It's changing, not rapidly. It's changing within the time span that for the time span that you're staying accompanied to one person, your mood will be one way. Then when you move along your road and encounter another person or an animal as well, your mood changes in relation to how you feel near that person or animal or experience, because in what I'm seeing here too, I'm seeing rainbows, and I'm seeing sunsets and sunrises, and all of those hint at time for us. And on the one hand, we're traveling on this sort of road trip without time being suggested to us, if not for the colors of the sky. And that is our beating, as that is the time beating for us. Now, we try as hard as we can not to be conditioned by that, not to have our mouth start salivating because you know that the sun is going down, I should be hungry because soon I will have to go to sleep and my tummy will be empty, or the sunrise and oh yes, I'm hungry, we try not to be conditioned by time on this road trip during this full moon, but it seems to be a bit inevitable. And one of the interesting reasons we interact with other people and other experiences on our road is precisely to get away from being conditioned by time. We are as light as our feeling is. If you go running on the ground, it is a wonderful sensation. You feel your feet on the ground. You feel the connection to the ground. However, but if you go into a pool of water, you feel that lightness and the absence almost of gravity. There's this bouncing in the water, and your weight is completely different. I remember when I was a little girl, we used to go to the lake. I used to live in northern New Jersey, and there was a place called Suntan Lake, and we were all little girls. I have two sisters, and when we were young, on the weekends, my parents would pack everything up. It was grill time, picnic time, going to Suntan Lake. And we would, I remember it was a time when my grandfather was with us and my grandmother from Italy as well. We have pictures. I was looking at them recently. And those days that we used to not really swim, we didn't know how to swim because I learned how to swim at the YMCA when I was about 8. So I'm talking about 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. I could remember literally going to sleep and dreaming that I was in a pool of water, and how I was so tired, and it was just, I was one with the water. And it was a feeling that went beyond time, which is quite interesting. You did feel the energy vary, and this is what I'm talking about. If we look at this road trip as if it were a trip of energies, we would see that our energy could bring us to feel heavy, to feel light, to feel tired, and to feel full of energy. And how does this fare, though, you may ask, and I am asking, and the stone is suggesting, how does this fare with the encounters that we make? And what do we exchange with these people, if they are people? What is it that I can exchange? What would they want to talk about? Maybe we could talk about the sunrise that was so beautiful today, or where are you from? Where are you going? Oh, that's great. Are you on your own? And you have this exchange that may seem superficial, but it is the amount of exchange that the context will allow you to. And unless you have certain conditions that will allow you to go much further, there's such a physical attraction, and you just fall into the arms of a person. And brace, so many things can happen. What actually occurs in what I'm seeing here, I'll put this down and take a look at my quartz here. What I do see is that the lighter we get, the lighter we are, the amount of possibilities expand. The lighter we are, the more extension we have in movement, the farther we can go. And it's not necessarily, and now this discussion, what I'm saying is completely devoid, completely removed from anything material like of economic value. It has nothing to do with how much money you have in your pocket. Well, of course, if you're riding in a car, it's one thing to ride in a, I don't know, I don't even know what kind of cars that would be, a tiny car, a very low-cost vehicle that's probably very, very old, and it would be another kind of comfort to ride in a car that would be more comfortable, and that would be the amount of indication of wealth, or that would characterize you. But what I'm talking about, and what I'm being suggested here through the crystals, has nothing to do with how many rings you have on, the color of your jeans, the brand name, or the shoes that you have on. But it has everything to do with looking at someone, going right to the heart of an interpersonal exchange, and seeing a way to make contact. Because when you finally feel that you made contact, and you nod to each other, and you've exchanged light, you know, your path is crossed with someone and you've exchanged light, and it was light, and you can go on, and you come both away enriched. This is what I'm saying. The same goes for the chance encounter that we could have at a gas station with an animal that you pet, or that barks at you or wags its tail, very happy when they see you. And these are sort of like, superficially, I could call them moods, but they're not moods. It's a passage of energy. It's energy that you feel from other people, energy that you feel in the environment, energy that you feel can really give you a reaction that's quite different from one person to the next, from one context to the next, from one animal to the next. And so we have around this full moon, I believe it's in Sagittarius. If I'm not, please somebody write under the video and tell me that I won't fool and I made a mistake. We have these days up until the 2nd of July is a potential chest full of experiences, a wealth of experiences on our road. We go on our road with a light heart. We go with intrepid. We're feeling intrepid because we don't know what is going to happen in these days during our movement and our lonely, if we want to call it, our being alone in this experience, in this adventure, Now, if it is an adventure, and it is, we have to admit that the people that we encounter on our road, that cross our paths, are partners in crime or adventure mates. And that is one way of making a connection. And without a doubt, they're not there by chance. You encounter them for a reason. Everything you do and encounter in somebody who crosses your path is there for a reason. It would usually make us feel much more light-hearted and much more predisposed to an encounter by thinking that it is an adventure, and having the curiosity to find out what their adventure has been so far. Where have they come from? What brings them to the road? And it will actually give you give us an indication of our road and our purpose. And it's going to be quite a beautiful adventure, this full moon, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope this was of help. It was a pleasure to scry with you tonight. Come scry with me next new moon. We'll see each other again. Welcome to my old subscribers, and not welcome. Welcome to my new subscribers, and thank you for my older supporters. I appreciate it. Have a great full moon. Bye-bye.